So stop coming over the top. That's what we're talking about today. So the over the top move is when the club comes above plane on the way down. I'll explain what that is in a second. And then leads you cutting across the golf ball, hitting slices, hitting fades, hitting pull shots, creating poor strikes and shanks are all caused by this over the top move. There are other causes for the shanks, but the over the top move is really what we're focusing on today to fix it with some simple, easy changes so you can take to the golf course and play better straight away. So the over the top move is basically the club cutting across the golf ball. It plays 90% of golfers I would see on the lesson tee, probably from the handicap, generally a 5 handicap up, they would have an over the top swing. And even some of these lower handicap golfers will might have a steep plane in transition but recover and compensate really well, so it doesn't make that much difference to the play, but they will still hit pushes and hooks from that then as a consequence, but they don't generally hit the fades and slices. So really what happens is the club comes above plane. Now what does that mean? So I'll try and explain to you what above plane is in a very simple way. This yellow line down on the ground here is going to represent the ball to target line. This is going to be pointing out the end of my club. So you could use a laser if not, but we'll just use this as a baseline at the moment to show you what goes on. So in my top of the backswing, as I start down, if I was over the top, this stick would start to point inside that baseline on the ground, that ball to target line or extension of. If I was on plane, that would be pretty much on that line. And that would be the kind of shaft representation pitch we'd want to see. Now if I was under plane, this will point above it. Now in general terms, most golfers we want to see above or under plane in this transition area, and as we get down to the golf ball they start to get them back on plane. That way it allows us to get more rotary with our golf swing, more rotary with our body through the ball, and makes us more passive with our hands. We're still going to have hand action. There's a big difference between a big release with the hands to a more, let's say, body-led swing. So it'll still be having hand action. We still want the hands to fire. We're just reducing the amount. So we're controlling the rate of closure by having a better swing direction. That allows us to be more consistent, and that's the key thing. Consistency is the key. So initially, the best way to stop coming over the top is to start to feel how you get under plane in that transition area. Now there are causes and effects to all these things, but if we start to feel that we can get this golf club pointing more towards the camera I have there or above this line, I've got to feel what do I do in my body in order to achieve that. Now essentially, there's a few things that are going on. If we look at the lead arm in that transition area is basically rotating ever so slightly this way. So my elbow is going ever so slightly towards the camera. So this is a pronation of my arm. Now if I do that solely, if I go to the top and just pronate my arm, you'll see there how the club changes its angle from a more upright position to a flatter position. Okay. If I do the same with my trail arm goes more into what we call external rotation. The same thing happens. So what we want to do with the trail arm is feel that the hand goes further away from the golf ball and the elbow goes more towards the golf ball. I call this losing the arm wrestle, but it's more external rotation with the shoulder, and that's what we want to feel. So feeling these arm movements with the club one-handed is a great way of sensing what you're doing. Same time this happens, we get a lateral bump with the hips and a slight right side tilt with the body. That also helps put the orientation of the swing to right field. So the golfers that tend to come over the top tend to move the lead shoulder forward and around very quickly, and then the hands tend to want to come out. Now if you rotate hard and leave the hands behind, that can be quite a powerful move, but it's very tricky to do. I'd much rather you feel you stay closed and rotate these arms and get this club into this inside position and then rotate hard through the golf ball. That is far easier for me. When we stay closed, we are still moving our pressure and our shifting forward, but we're trying not to rotate the torso too early. It still will rotate. Delay it, then let it rotate, and that helps you get the club back into the slot or onto that plane position we want. So that's the what's going on. Let's look at the simple fixes you can do that take to the golf course straight away. So practice number one would be to use what I call a channel. You'll see here my ball to target line would be down there, down the fairway. This is off at 30 or 40 degrees to the right. You can change the amount. depending on the golfer and how much you influence them or want to influence them. The idea with this is I'm going to stand square. I'm going to try and get my golf club entering at the same angle as those rods and exiting at the same angle as those rods. Now obviously that's very extremely in to out. Now the guys out to in, we need to feed a more in to out swing to be able to stand there naturally and do a more neutral swing. So how often you need to do this, the angle you need to do it at, will depend on how ingrained this movement is. So you need to have a go, then hit some normal shots and reassess your ball flight or reassess your swing on video. That would be the process. So if I just stand here now, stand very square and try and feel like my swing's going to go in that channel as best I can. So I feel I did a pretty good fist of that. I possibly hit that slightly a bit too heavy, but it's very hard to get it on that exact angle. It's a big shift and change from what I would do naturally. But that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make you make a change and then go back more naturally. So speaking of natural, let's go through what you can do as a simple concept on the golf course to change this in action. So on the golf course, you don't want to be thinking about pronating and moving in externally and all that rubbish. You don't want to be thinking of that on the golf course. On the range, yes, in slow motion with a short iron, yes. When you go to the golf course, it's got to be much simpler than that. Otherwise, you won't play any good. So on the golf course, what I would do is get the logo of the ball, if it's a tee shot, in the bottom right-hand corner as you look at the ball for a right-handed golfer. And we're going to try and hit the golf ball in that inside quarter of the golf ball. And we're going to try and visualize the club head approaching from the inside and hitting that inside part of the ball. And that's what your practice little rehearsal is going to do. You're going to set up to the golf ball, deliver that club to the inside part of the quarter as your little waggle, and then you're going to go and hit the golf ball and focus on trying to hit the ball in that direction and that part of the ball. And I don't care how we get there, what we do to get there, but we're going to really focus hard on that part of the ball and visualize the club doing that. There was a tour player going back about 10-15 years ago that worked with a psychologist. This was their only swing thought when they played, and he played the best golf of his career. He got in the world top 50 when he did this, and this is the only thought he had. He visualized that club, this is the golf ball, doing that every single time, and that's when he played fantastic golf. Let's give that a try. So I'm going to set up as normal. Hit that one, I would say definitely from the inside. Had a tiny bit of draw to it. Probably a bit skinnier than I would do normally, but I was really focused on trying to get that club to travel in that position at that time. And again, the key is owning your own thoughts that make you play well and make you deliver the club how you want to give you the ball flight you want. Get stuck in.